Greetings, brothers and sisters. I'm about to share with you a letter that Pastor Ron Kelly wrote to the Michigan Conference, but it's not just addressing the Michigan Conference. This is a letter he wrote as a result of the meeting that the Michigan Conference just had with the church. And so this letter was not really a private letter to the conference, for the conference, but it was also an open letter. In the letter, as you're about to read and listen to it, Pastor Ron Kelly exposed the fruit of the conference. And he mentioned and admitted and confessed that he was forced by the conference to ban Conrad Vine. And I do appreciate the fact that he made that confession, because we knew that something was wrong. So as I'm about to play the clip for you, remember to keep him in our prayers, because I can see now that he's going through a tough time dealing with all of this. And then I'll come back with a closing statement.
Dear church family, I have been accused of insubordination, bullying, and fomenting discord against the conference. Over the past 6 weeks, the strength of my disagreement with the conference has grown, and perhaps at times it has been too strong. However, it has been in private settings with other leaders, not before the public. It has always been my goal to save the church from the pain of today. Conrad Vine should have had, and still should have, his day in court. It was inappropriate to build a case against him and discipline him in his absence. I also should have been there as his pastor and shepherd. I was invited the night before at 9:20 in the evening and did not know that they intended to ban him. I have said from this pulpit that he should not have said some of the things he has said, but even this is an opinion, and I could be wrong. I did, however, cooperate with the conference and enforce a ban that I think was enacted under a compromised set of circumstances, the most notable being his absence and my absence from his trial. You can imagine my surprise when later I found out that the conference was not going to help us acquire our professional liability insurance for the medical missionary clinic until they knew where we stood on Conrad Vine. My stance had always been known, and it is still the same. I've said it in private and I say it here again today. Until the denomination is held to the same scrutiny as Conrad Vine, there would be no discipline against this man while I am the senior pastor. I explained in private, and now I am forced to say to you in public, that withholding the liability insurance on another ministry until we change our stance on Conrad is wrong and is of the lowest order of bullying. I have said so in private, and I say so again here again. It is also an act of either ignorance or defiance against the movings of providence and the saving of souls. The local church elected Conrad Vine through a vote of the entire church. As brief as the vote to affirm the work of our nominating committee may be, it is a business meeting session. The conference must recognize the duly constituted authority of the local church, even as we recognize theirs. I had no idea that my job was in jeopardy and was completely surprised when on Sunday, 1 week ago today, I was summoned to the conference office. I was told to be there by 11:00 a.m. and that I could bring my wife. This is administrative speak, and the translation is, "Your life is about to change." I asked them for the charges against me in writing, and they said they would not. I said I would not come. Later in the day, I received a formal invitation via email. I relented and went. On Monday, it was explained to me that I was insubordinate and that I bullied people. It was also stated that previous disagreements that we had had were not as resolved as I thought they were. I was stunned. How can a person fix a problem they do not know exists? On Tuesday of this week, 25 people on the conference committee sat in a room and discussed the allegations against me for 2 hours. I was not present to hear their stories and accusations, while I completely agree that the conference has every right to make a case that I no longer fit inside the culture of their organization. I do believe that before an action is taken, I have a right to hear my accusers, for them to align the thoughts and feelings of the elements of due process and justice. When I and my wife appeared before the committee, I was given 30 minutes to make a general statement regarding their allegations that I was a bully and I was insubordinate. On the way into the room, I was told that I might also want to speak regarding fomenting dissent against the conference. For 38 minutes I did my best to explain that I was not a bully, and that even though I disagreed with how Conrad was banned, I went along with it and did not allow him to speak. I explained to them that no one paid a higher price for banning Conrad than I did, as my name and ministry were discredited before the watching thousands as a coward and company man. I told the committee that if I was an alleged bully and insubordinate, they should probably not send me to another district where my experience and personal problems would place them at a great disadvantage. I apologized for having interrupted people in some of our strained discussions over the last 6 weeks, and I left the room. Pastor Bryce Bowman, Pastor Dennis Page, Dan Bakioki, and Tony Minikus were each allowed 5 minutes to speak. They pled with the committee not to do this, to find another way. Then they and several others from the village church left the room. For the next several hours, my prosecutors were allowed to sit with the jury, and then they became my judges. The committee took my advice to heart, and instead of moving me as they had originally planned, they voted to put me on administrative leave. My wife and I met with the conference on Wednesday at 2 p.m. The conference president struggled to tell my wife why I was being placed on administrative leave, and then asked the conference secretary if he could do it. It made me sad to watch it all. I explained to them both that I would be making a final statement, and that if they needed to fire me, they could do it right then and there. There was nothing heated or unpleasant about our interaction, and we prayed together and left. I am certain that along the way I have made mistakes. When they are brought to my attention, I have attempted to apologize for them. I am not two different men. Who I am in the pulpit is who I am at home and who I am among God's people. This, I believe, is the reason I am no longer your pastor. I love these men that have gathered here today. I hold no ill will against them, and I believe that our strong disagreements at times were discussions they could handle. I also believe that I was obligated to have these conversations in order to discharge my duty as a fellow leader. My life motto has been, as iron sharpens iron, so one man sharpens another man's countenance. Proverbs. I have never spoken with them with malice in my heart, and today, if I have somehow done something wrong that I am not aware of, I am open to hearing and understanding and am more than willing to apologize. The leader of this church turned over tables, called people snakes, whitewashed tombs, and sons of the devil. He accused them of being children of darkness and pronounced woes on them publicly. It is not the passion of our discourse that makes it wrong, it is the hatred that dwells in our hearts. The best way I have found to keep my heart clear has been to speak frankly with your brother, to hold no grudge in your heart, to suffer no sin on their account, and to love your neighbor as yourself. Leviticus. In my opinion, I am no longer your pastor because I followed the example and teachings of Jesus. I am speaking up because I have concern for my fellow employees who will remain on duty in this conference after I am long gone. The church is the body of believers. They have formed an organization to serve the truth and to do justly, love mercy, and walk humbly. It is here today for the church to decide if this is how we want to do business. On Friday, the conference communicated that the insurance on the medical missionary clinic has been worked out. But what about all untold stress and suffering that has ensued over their former posture? Is it all better now because I am no longer your pastor? This is for you to decide. My heart aches, and I am fighting back tears as I end this letter. I love everyone in this room and believe we are capable of better things. May God bless you all as you dialogue today. You are in my prayers. Please make me proud as your pastor and show these men the respect they are due, even though I believe they have made grave mistakes. Love, your former senior pastor.
As I mentioned a moment ago, the Bible tells us in the book of Matthew, or 2 Peter chapter 2 verse 1, but there were false prophets also among the people, even as there shall be false teachers among you, who privily shall bring in damnable heresies, even denying the Lord that brought them, and bring upon themselves swift destruction. And Jesus mentioned also in Matthew chapter 7, there shall arise false prophets, among the people. Matthew 24 as well, he mentioned the same thing. And so we can see their fruit. Jesus said, by their fruit ye shall know them. And we can see the fruit of the conference right now. We can see also the signs of the times. We can see, based on what's taking place, it is the time for the church to no longer be under the general conference, under any conference for that matter, especially if they are in apostasy, just like Conrad Vine had said. Let us now realize it's time to have a power church and stop supporting the apostasy. God bless you.